Today I would like to talk for just a bit about John W. Campbell's Who Goes There, which is the novella, I guess it's a novella, that inspired the movie The Thing by John Carpenter. Of course, it inspired many other things. We're going to get into that in this video. I've already made a video quite a while ago on the channel discussing the contents of the novella itself, so I'm not going to go into that very much this time. I just wanted to really quickly go over the publication history of this book because the history is very interesting for this specific story. So the history for this story, we don't know the exact date when it started, but I assume it's like probably early to mid 1930s. John W. Campbell started working on a manuscript, a novel specifically, and he titled it Frozen Hell, and then later he retitled it Pandora. And he worked on this novel quite a lot and eventually sent it to the magazine Argosy, to the editor there, John Jack Francis Byrne, and it was rejected. So he took it back and edited the manuscript until it was a novella length, and then he resubmitted it to Astounding magazine. So it was published in the August 1938 issue of Astounding, and it was published under the pseudonym Don A. Stewart. And the interior artwork for the novella was done by H.W. Wesso. Here you can see the cover of that magazine, which was also done by H.W. Wesso for a different story in the magazine. These images that I got are all from the Internet Archive. The entire magazine is on the Internet Archive if you want to go look at it. And here we can see two of the images that go along with this story on the cover page of the story. I absolutely love these old magazines with line drawing illustrations in them. They're absolutely incredible, and these are as incredible as well. We can see kind of our first look at the Thing monster. In this original magazine, it was 12 chapters long, and this is a constantly changing story in that the length of it changes often. This 12-chapter version was published again in Adventures of Time and Space in 1946, and this is an anthology of quite a few different stories, including the exact same version that was first published in Astounding of Who Goes There. In this case, it is still published under the name Don A. Stewart. And there's actually a second story by John W. Campbell under the pseudonym Don A. Stewart again in this same anthology, which is called Forgetfulness. I've never read that. Could be interesting as well. And then in 1948, it was finally published under John W. Campbell's name, and that is the first copy of Who Goes There, which is a very sought-after book. I wish I had a version of it that I could show you here, but it is very rare. The cover is by Hannes Bach, or Hannes Bach. I'm not sure how you pronounce the artist's name. Yeah, it's the, I guess, the second rendition of The Thing we see in pictures. And it is a wild one, as you can tell here from the cover. This time, it was a slightly different manuscript than the first one. The first one had 12 chapters. This one had 14. It did very well, and in 1951 we get the first film adaptation of the novella, and that is The Thing from Another World. This was a loose adaptation. The alien in this is a plant-based alien. It doesn't really connect as directly to the novella as the eventual John Carpenter movie did. But it was also a humanoid alien. It had arms and legs. And of course, this was due, I'm sure, to what they could do in film at the time. The movie did well. John Carpenter grew up, and when he saw it, to him it was the scariest movie he had ever seen, which is why he eventually decided to make a movie from the story as well. After the movie The Thing from Another World came out, we saw radio adaptations of it, and some of the concepts from the story were borrowed in other films. The story was anthologized quite a bit between 46, of course, and the release of this Best of John W. Campbell, which we'll get into in just a bit. Also, it was Who Goes There itself was re-released after the movie, and they have a couple of movie tie-in versions, which I'll show you covers of here. And of course, we get more depictions of what this alien would look like, although the movie itself would affect artists after this a little bit. In February of 1972, we get the first version of the Best of John W. Campbell. And you can see the art here, which was done by Simon Stern. Also in 1973, the story was published in the Science Fiction Hall of Fame, Volume 2A. This is an anthology series that collects all of the writers that science fiction writers themselves feel are the best of the era. So I think the era in 1939 up to the creation of the nebula. Yeah, so this is my 1973 book club edition of that one. And then finally, in May of 1976, we get the Best of John W. Campbell, this time with cover art by Chet Jezierski. I don't know if I'm saying his name correctly. I will put it here on the screen so that you can see how it is spelled and perhaps correct me in my pronunciation. This is the version that most people will have. It's the version that I have that includes this story. And that cover art with the dogs in the back and then the three-eyed alien is really iconic for this particular story. After that, it is, of course, still anthologized all the way through till recently, but in 1982, of course, John Carpenter's version of The Thing comes out. So, of course, as I said earlier, the movie from the 1950s scared John Carpenter so much that he wanted to make his own film about the story. However, John Carpenter's film really follows Who Goes There much more than the 50s did. So at first I thought he was just remaking the movie, but the more and more I've dug into this, the more I've realized that he actually was making Who Goes There into a film, not just remaking that original 50s one. The 50s one is what gave him the inspiration to go and remake Who Goes There, but Who Goes There is what he really ended up remaking. And that, of course, repopularized that story. But a really interesting thing happens. So Bill Lancaster is writing the script for John Carpenter's film, and they decided that they wanted a novel, movie tie-in novel to come out with the film. I don't know why they didn't just re-release Campbell's Who Goes There. I feel like makes the most sense, but apparently that didn't work for them. So they got the guy that does most of the novelizations of movies in the 80s, Alan Dean Foster, and they made The Thing. And this is based off an early script by Bill Lancaster, so names in this are different, and there's scenes that don't appear in the movie in this. This is my first American edition, first printing. It's in very good condition, no creasing or anything on the cover. There is a small crease on the spine that is not visible. When you get really close, you can see it, and there's a tiny bit of spine lean on the back that creates a bump here on the back. Other than that, this thing is in awesome condition. This is a very sought after book, especially by film and horror collectors, so I'm glad to have it. It's not worth as much, of course, as that original Who Goes There, but it's getting there. It's really up there. Of course, this movie is iconic. It's absolutely wonderful. I remember watching it as a kid and seeing the scene where the alien is trying to turn into the dog, and it just terrified me. I mean, it's like core memory. It will always be there in my head. So scary. Very well done. Great film. There's a 4K restoration of it that's absolutely incredible that I have, that I absolutely love. Really, really wonderful film that brought a lot of attention back to Who Goes There, the original story. Eventually, it was discovered that these early manuscripts existed that were in the form of novels. That's how we know that he started this as a novel, because he sent papers to Harvard and they were discovered in 2018. Two different texts, one called Frozen Hell and one called Pandora, and they did a Kickstarter in order to publish these so that we could read the novel version of them, which was asking for, I think, something like $11,000 and got $100,000 in the Kickstarter. It was incredible. So they published Frozen Hell, which you can see the cover of here. And while this doesn't add a lot of new plot points, it really takes its time, especially in the beginning, while the scientists are trying to figure out what exactly this creature is and how they can deal with it. There is a lot of content to this book. There's 2 movies. There are 3 different versions of the John W. Campbell story, the shortest that was published in the beginning, the mid-range one that was published here, and then finally Frozen Hell, which was the full novel, plus 2 films, one of them being incredibly popular, considered really truly a science fiction classic. I, of course, have done a video already on the channel where I spoke about my reading of Who Goes There, but I want to point you towards the video by Virgil from Literally Books, and I'm going to put a link to it down in the comments here, because Virgil kind of did the same thing I did here. He read Who Goes There, studied up about The Thing, but he took it even farther, and I think he read Who Goes There, then he read Alan Dean Foster's copy of The Thing, and then he read Frozen Hell. So he read all 3 major iterations of this book and made a video on it that is absolutely incredible. So if you'd like a deeper dive into the complexities of these actual stories, go check out Virgil's. I just wanted to really quick give a bit of a publishing history on Who Goes There.